Hello everyone, from a new day of confliction between Russia and Ukraine. The counteroffensive of the Ukrainian army continues unabated in 4 sectors of the front line. The Russian army, which has suffered heavy losses, is having difficulty standing up to the Ukrainian army. The phenomenon of war, which has become even more chaotic with technological developments, has become even more pronounced in the confliction between Russia and Ukraine. We will examine the latest situation on the front line on the map in a moment. I would like to note that we will often mention the Ukrainian artillery and their outstanding achievements in our map analysis report. If you're ready, let's analyze it together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss the map analysis report prepared by the Pioneer team and reports on the agenda. You can also like our videos to support our team that prepares and presents these reports to you. The Pioneer reports. Let's start our map analysis today with the latest situation south of frontline. In our recent reports, we often state that the tension on the Crimean peninsula has reached a high level. Now let's focus on the Crimean peninsula. As you can see, this peninsula has a geographical potential to become an important base of Ukraine on the Black Sea. In addition, Ukraine has the opportunity to establish a dominant area in the Sea of Azov thanks to the Crimean peninsula. When we look at the western side of the Crimean peninsula, you see Odessa, which is a very important commercial port for Ukraine. The armed forces of Ukraine have 2 important objectives here. The first is to end the Russian occupation of the Crimean peninsula, which has been going on since 2014. The other goal is to establish a stronger line of defense against the Russian threat in the region after liberating the Crimean peninsula. In order for the Ukrainian armed forces to achieve the second goal, the first goal must be achieved. This is, the Crimean peninsula must be liberated from Russian occupation. However, since the region has been under Russian occupation since 2014, the Russian fortifications in the region are quite strong. The Ukrainian army has been targeting these Russian fortifications in recent days, trying to reduce Russia's capacity to resist. As we mentioned in our reports on the agenda, the Crimean peninsula was shaken by 3 large explosions in just one day. One of these explosions was the town of Dzhonkoy. As you can see on the map, the town of Dzhonkoy is located about 45 kilometers from the Ukrainian mainland. In addition, Dzhonkoy has another feature worth noting. As you can see, the town is the intersection of 4 highway lines. Therefore, let's say that it is a very important supply line. When we look at it, one of these highways extends to Kerch Bridge connection to the Crimean Peninsula to the Russian Federation. From this, we can infer that town of Dzhonkoy is a logistics center for the Russian armed forces. As you can see, one of the other 3 routes extend to the south of Crimea, i.e. Sevastopol, the other northwest of Crimean Peninsula, i.e. the Kherson region, and the other cities such as Berdyansk and Mariupol, which are under Russian occupation in the north of the Crimean Peninsula. This advantage of the town of Dzhonkoy has pushed the Russian Federation to build a large number of facilities in the region. Now let's evaluate the recent operations of the Ukrainian artillery in this context. According to recent reports, Ukrainian artillery units have blown up the Russian ammunition depot and military facilities located in this region. In other words, the Russian army has lost an important fortifications and logistics support center in a very critical region. This operation of the armed forces of Ukraine did not affect only Dzhonkoy. Russian soldiers in all directions we have just mentioned were also negatively affected by this attack. This attack of the region at the moment when the Ukrainian army's counteroffensive is continuing may leave the Russian positions largely powerless. The attacks carried out on the Crimean Peninsula were not limited to the town of Dzhonkoy and other 2 attacks. Immediately after these attacks, a fuel tank belonging to the Russian army was also destroyed on the Crimean Peninsula. This attack took place in Armursk, located almost in the center of Crimean Peninsula. According to the allegations, Ukrainian loitering ammunition hit a fuel tank located in Armursk. The reason behind the importance of this fuel tank is quite remarkable. As you know, the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Navy is located in Sevastopol. Armursk is located about 100 kilometers from Sevastopol. According to the allegations, almost all of the fuel needs of the Russian Black Sea Fleet were supplied from the fuel tank located here. In other words, we can say that the Russian Black Sea Fleet has suffered a partial paralysis as a result of the Ukrainian army's attack. It is also reported that the ammunition depot located in the region also exploded and blown up after an explosion in the fuel tank. Now let's focus on the part of the front line that remains on the eastern bank of the Dnieper River. As you know, there are now areas on the eastern bank of the Dnieper River where the Ukrainian army has managed to establish dominance. One of them is the east side of the Antonivsky Bridge. As you can see on the map, the Aleshki district is located quite close to the Antonivsky Bridge. As we mentioned in our previous reports, there were fierce clashes between Ukrainian armed forces personnel and the Russian army in the region. The most important goal of the Russian army for a long time was to expel the Ukrainian army from the positions it captured on the eastern side of the Antonivsky Bridge. However, Russian troops in the region could not achieve this. Later, the Russian military began to deploy special operations troops to the region. These special operation troops, on the other hand, have recently faced an attack by Ukrainian army. Russian special operation troops detected by Ukrainian artillery were conducting screening activities southwest of Aleshki. Ukrainian artillery units have carried out the successful attacks targeting the special operation troops. With this attack, the Russian special operation unit was destroyed. At the same time, another ammunition depot located in the area was blown up. The relentless struggle of two armies continues in Bakhmut, one of the most important regions of the front line. According to recent reports, the fighting between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army has intensified in the north of Bakhmut. You see Orkhovo-Vasilivka, located to the north of Bakhmut. In recent days, the Ukrainian armed forces have managed to acquire several new positions in this region. The Russian army has moved to clear these positions captured by the Ukrainian soldiers. But Ukrainian artillery units were waiting for them. With the beginning of the counterattack of the Russian army, Ukrainian artillery launched an intense bombardment. During this bombardment, the Russian troops suffered heavy losses and were forced to retreat, while the Ukrainian armed forces largely protected their positions. There is currently no significant map change around Bakhmut. What do you guys think? How do you think the Ukrainian artillery units are affecting the war? How are the attacks on the Crimean peninsula affecting the war? How much does the destruction of Russian ammunition depots affect the Russian troops on the front line? Do you consider the Ukrainian army's counterattack sufficient? We care about your opinions. Please share it with us.